guys, Wahoo here, back on the video. This time around we are gonna go over every single hidden effect on the different classes in the new update coming with the mythic rings. So if you don't know what is going on in Trove right now on the PTS server, is that we are getting mythic rings, or as of right now, as you can see here, and they are going to be there with different effects. And the hidden effects, if you don't know what that is when you polish your ring. So let me see if I can't find the polisher real quick here. So yeah, you got the ring polisher right over here. So in this one, you could basically choose two different ones. This is the Solarion one, and then there is also this one called Rushed Escape, and basically that is the effect. If I can find the Shadow Hunter, which I probably already bypassed for some reason. You guys are probably screaming at, yeah, there we go. So the Shadow Hunter has this, when you dodge, you can see I am moving faster for a while, as you can see also up my screen right up here. So now it's going to fall off, and you can see that now I'm only moving like this, but when I use this one, I move faster. So that is what is happening also for that hidden effect. So there's going to be rings that are going to have this unique one for that class, and then everyone is going to be access to this Rust Escape. So it's going to be random which one you are going to get. For example, if I'm open one of these, we are going to get Dragonborn and Dragon Force, because this is a Dracolyte ring. But these are some of the old effects that is there, so those two you can also get. So random which ones you are going to get from that. But then you go ahead and you polish it, and then you can either choose to get the unique one or the rushed one, depending on which ones you want. But we're going to go over the unique ones for every single class in this here video, so you guys can get an overview of what they all do. So with that said, we can now go into the very first class, which is going to be the Solarion. So as I said, the first class we are going to use, or goo, is going to be the Solarion, and that one is the Divine Touch. And Divine Touch, basically what it does is that you can see I have a bar that's right over my hotbar right here with all my abilities. And when I do damage over time, which my pet does, and also I can do myself with using like #1 ability, you can see there's the kind of little circle here on the ground that does damage over time, which also becomes bigger. But when I do that to a target, then I get more arrows. There's also a long list right here. But when I shoot, for example, right now, I'm not sure I can show you guys, but it shoots basically 3 arrows, and I can keep doing that until it kind of goes down again. So it's sort of like energy in a way. So now I'm only shooting 1, but if I do more damage over time, there is going to be more and more of these that it's going to increase. And what the effect is going to do is that nearby enemies, when they die, they are going to grant you this Divine Radiance, which is this one right here. So basically when I go up here, it's going to give me more arrows. As you can see here, my guy is going to attack, and that is, you can see the bar right here is going to give me more and more arrows, as you can see right here. And then when I shoot, they are going to shoot more of them, and then I can basically you do more damage over time. It's going to give you more arrows. You can basically also kind of see them right now that it's kind of shooting. So basically the Solarion is all about keeping damage over time on your target, and then you can do AoE basically attacks, auto attacks with this one as well. So the point is that when enemies, usually if you're damage over time on the enemies, I'm just going to move away from right here so that guy is not attacking there. He's going to spawn right in a second. But the point is, when enemies die now, they're also going to give you more shots. So even though you didn't have damage over time on them, well, they might have died to damage over time. That's also going to grant you more arrows as well. As you can see, when I shoot, there's going to be shooting, and then when slowly, as I use the energy basically down here, it's gonna go further and further down. So that's what the Solarion does. Basically, it just gives you more passive stuff. So that is how it is going to work. So basically, it's just granting you extra of the the arrow, so you can keep it up a little bit of a better time, right? Maybe you can even run it where you don't even use damage over time, where you just basically kill enemies so fast that you basically get arrows back in that way. But that's what it does. It just gives you more basically arrows from that one, as well, as you can see right here. If you want to read the whole thing, of course you can do so, and of course you can also go to your own. You can even do, if you don't have the Solarion, you can still use it as a trial class, and you can go in and you can read it all about it if you choose to do so. So yes, that is what the Solarion does. Just gives you extra of that nice extra arrows when enemies dies near you. So that was the Solarion. Let's move on to the next one. All right, the next class we got is the Bard, and basically they just made the whole sing thing, or the song, whatever you call it, a lot easier by having this one. What it does is that you can have this called passion play, and every time you dodge while Bard song is active, you get 1+ melody once every 5 seconds. So if you don't know what that means, it's very simple. Basically, when you hit your ultimate ability, as you can see right here, you have this small bar down in the bottom, and actually you have to do all these sorts of maneuvers, as you can see, over your head. You have to dodge, but what it actually also does is that you can basically just keep dodging. If you just keep dodging, you are still going to get more melodies, and melodies are these you actually get every single time. So you can actually just keep doing dodges. You don't actually have to use all those, attacks. So basically you can just keep going, just dodging all the time, and you're still going to get melodies all the time. So basically you can just see now I'm at max. So now I could hit this button here, and it's going to take away some of my ability, some of those, but yeah, you can still use all the extra abilities if you choose to do so, but basically it's all about the about dodging now. So just dodge. That's basically what it means. That is just dodging. So there's not really anything crazy about it. Basically, it just makes it a lot easier when to manage this one, so you don't have to be like, okay, which ability do I have to use now? Oh, I have to do dodge. That is dodge, right? That's going to give you... Now you have to use your second mouse, and then you have to do another dodge, and now you have to use an auto attack, and then you have to use your number 1 ability, and then you have to auto attack, and then you have to do a dodge, and then you also have to do an auto attack. So you can get it up faster if you choose to do so, by just like dodging once in a while in between, using those abilities as well if you choose to do so. So basically either you just get it faster or you get more lazy. That's basically what it does. So it might be sounding weird to like, how do you get the melody and what all that, but basically every these little squares that are above here is a melody, as it's called. So that's basically a buff, and then you basically do more and more damage when you do that. You can see now that also the attack did change. So you can see here, if I do a dodge, you can see I'm getting more, and you can see the attack is going to be like even more and more crazy. So let me just dodge again as much as I can. But yeah, you saw what it kind of looked like, right? So keep dodging so you get more of these. Now you can see now it's getting quite big, and then it basically is going to do more and more damage the more melodies you have. So if you have max melodies, that's where you're going to do the most damage as well. And then you're going to go down a little bit in damage for getting one of these, but then you also do more damage. So yeah, basically it's a damage upon damage upon damage. So yeah, that's how it works. And now you're at max again. So basically just keep dodging. That is what the ring does. So that is actually super awesome to make it a little bit easier for the Bard players to reach that, and either faster or more lazy, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that was the Bard ring, or hidden effect. Now we can move on to the next one. All right, for the next ability, we are going to talk about the Vanguardian. So the Vanguardian, as you can see right here, it has the uncanny balance, and what it does is that when you have fired up or force flash going on, it will also grant you 5 seconds of increased stability and health regen. So nothing like out of the ordinary that we don't know about stability. And also, if you don't know what stability is, basically that is the pushback you get. So when an enemy hits you, if you have like 0 stability, then you get pushed back a lot, and then like less and less and less, of course, from every single stability you have. So yeah, if you want to have a lot of knockback resistance, you need some stability as well. But what is fired up and what is force flash? So when you are in your melee form, as you can see, I'm in melee form right now. You can see I have force flash right here. That's the number 1 ability. That's the one that does you can see the circle right here around me. And it also does a pulse that pulls things in for 30 seconds, actually. They have actually changed that. So it actually, pulls enemies in, as far as I have heard so far. So I haven't tested that out, but that's not really what this is about. This is about, again, the fired up and the forced forced flash as it is, and then the forced flash is in the melee form, and then when you change to range form, as you can see now I'm in range form, you can see this is fired up. So basically it just gives you this, and then you have more health regen, and you also have, of course, like I said, more stability as well. So nothing really crazy, just when you use those two abilities, which you use all the time, then you are going to get more resistances, I guess you can kind of call it. Like stability and health regen is sort of like, you know, would be those defensive abilities, or like none of it, but defensive stats, that's what I meant, defensive stats. So yeah, anyways, that's what the Vanguardian does. There was a bunch of changes to the Vanguardian as well, so not only this one, so this is kind of a little bit underwhelming, but it got a lot of nice changes. As I said, I think they also got like where it basically pulls enemies in and such. So yeah, maybe it was something with the clash gem, but I couldn't see it. So I just heard that they could now pull in enemies in some reason. So anyways, that you have to go and test yourself. So if it doesn't work, yeah, don't blame me. I'm not sure, like I said. But anyways, that was at least the ring. Now let's move on to the next class. All right, so the next class is the Dino Tamer, and the Dino Tamer got something is all right, I guess. But what it does, as you can see right here, your base attack applies a powerful primitive toxin, dealing damage over time to the target. So basically it just empowers that auto attack thing, which I think is kind of weird that they put that in as well, because like the fantasy about, you know, having your dino babies or not dino babies, but dino enemies, is that you would use those, right? But using this one, you come even more like usually people just use the, you know, the ultimate, and they want to have the ultimate reduced as much as they can, because they want to just be in the ultimate form all as much as they can. So that's also what your clash gem does, you know. It also kind of, you know, increases the duration of the ultimate, and yeah. So I have no idea why they went with this one, but I guess it's just what they want some more. But yeah, your auto attacks does apply a damage over time. As you can see right here, it does damage over time right there. So yeah, that's what it does. There's not really anything crazy. The toxin could be very, very super powerful, don't get me wrong, but in the case of being something strange that you haven't seen before, whatever, it's not really going to be. So basically it's just another damage over time. So your auto attacks just got a way better, and yeah, you might as well have this one, right? But I don't know if it's going to be a toxin you are going to use very often, but you can still use the rushed escape. That would probably be very nice to, you know, dodge and then have some extra movement speed. I don't know if you can. Oh yeah, you can dodge in your ultimate form, so that would also give you some extra movement power. So might as well. You can't get rushed escape without the primitive toxin, so you could play around with the toxin, and you can also have the rush escape if you choose to do so. Now, not the both of them at the same time, of course, but yeah, you have the option. So next week you could go with the rushed escape if you want that instead. But anyways, that was the Dino Tamer. Let's move on to the next class. All right, for the next class, we are going to have the Chloromancer, and this is one of the first classes where the ability kind of changes completely, and it changes from, as you can see, it changed there on my mouse 2 button, and I take it off. Usually it's, when you throw this one, you can see it grows up, and then it becomes, you know, doing damage. I probably should be over here, so it can actually do what it needs to do, and then you can level it up, and you can see now it shoots this one and at that one as well, as you can see, and then I can also heal that one if you want to, but yeah, that's what it does, you know, usually. And then when you throw this one, this is the one that does the spinny thing, and then when you hit the ultimate, you basically just empower all the plants you had before. So what it does is that it basically changes completely the mouse 2 button to something called the wild pulse, and replaces the you know, mouse 2 button, this one right here, to having this wild pulse. Challenging ability allows the Chloromancer to damage nearby enemies. So basically what it does is that you can click it, right, but it doesn't go like, it goes off. You can use it as an attack like that, but you can also hold down the button. As you can see, there is some AoE around me, and when you don't have more energy, it kind of stops, and then you have to release the button again. So energy regen on the you know, Solarion or the Chloromancer is gonna be super awesome. You can still use your #1 ability, and then, you know, it also heals the stuff around it because you do damage as well. You hit the like you do with your auto attack. So basically you can throw down this one, and then instead of auto attacking on it, you basically have the whole thing that hits it right there. And then if you use your ultimate as well, but it doesn't really do anything besides that. So it doesn't really empower. It does, you know, empower your you know, this one right here. You as you can see here, these become way bigger when you have this one active, but it doesn't really do anything for your #2 ability. But basically it's a different kind of thing where you can do some damage instead of just using your plants. So they kind of change it up so you don't have to be like a, you know, plant reliant kind of class, and you have to, you know, have them grow up and then be something else. But yeah, you can actually, you just use this one, and there you go. And then you want your energy to just rapidly go up again. So maximum energy, and actually energy regen is actually pretty awesome on this one right now, or is going to be pretty awesome to just go in, hit your mouse 2 button, and then just clear it all instead of doing that. And then again, you can use your ultimate ability if you want to, but yeah, it doesn't really going to be a much of that. So, but with the class gem, you probably want to just use this one still, then throw down these ones still, and this kind of go like this. You kind of become a, like, sort of a melee class. I kind of feel like you become a kind of a melee class instead of being like having those that kind of shoot in a way, and then yeah, like that. But I really like this ring. I don't know, I might go Chloromancer in the future. I'm not sure actually, because I think this is actually super cool ability. And yeah, of course I hope it does like a ton of damage if it doesn't do that. But yeah, it does snare enemies and become stunned briefly after damaging with the wild pulse. So yeah, I think it should be a nice amount of damage. So definitely a very amazing ring that helps out the Chloromancers really amazingly. And I think this is what like the hidden effect should be doing, like basically changing a class completely to going from like being always one way and then moving into something different. But yeah, that's not what this video is about. It's about like showcasing the abilities and kind of talking about them, of course, a little bit. But we are going to move on to the next class. All right, so the next class is going to be the Lunar Lancer, and the Lunar Lancer has this one where it's gravity well, as it's called. When you use Lunar Leap or Lunar Slam, will pull in nearby enemies, and this effect can only happen every 30 seconds. So I feel like the cooldown on it is pretty up there. And basically it's the Lunar Leap right here, and the Lunar Slam is that when you go into your lunar form, then you become this one becomes Lunar Slam instead of Lunar Leap. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this one. As you can see here, this is the Lunar Leap. And then when you use that one, you can also, you know, go down again. It empowers that one. But yeah, that's what it does. And then when you move in, for example, you are going to, you know, become, you know, that Lunar Leap that's going to pull in enemies. Of course, I don't have enemies around me, so I can't really show you guys how that actually works. So let me just see if I can't get into my ultimate. As you can see here, should be able to go into my ultimate. So now you can see this is called Lunar Slam, and this is the blessing of it. But that's where you just do this boom, big smash thing, and that's also going to pull in enemies. So I don't know if it has like 2 different cooldowns, but I would assume that it does not have that. So I'm pretty sure that it is not going to pull in enemies like a second time as well. I think you unfortunately have to wait those 30 seconds no matter what, but I think it's just when you are in that form, it can also reset and give yourself that. So all it does is pull in enemies. I think the cooldown should be lower of it, but we'll see. At least 30 seconds it shouldn't be higher than that. That's at least my suggestion. But yeah, that's basically when you what you use those abilities for. So it's okay, but I would love to see it again being a little bit more of a, you know, maybe they could use it on the grappling instead, because the grappling doesn't have that much of a cooldown, and then have no cooldown, and then it would basically you would pull all enemies with you. That could be kind of cool if you could kind of do like that, and then you just basically pull all enemies with you instead of just having it as, you know, when you do a leap stat. I don't know, that could be cool as well. But anyways, that was the Lunar Lancer's hidden effect. Now we can move on to the next class. Alright, for our next class is the Revenant, and the Revenant becomes absolutely crazy. I don't know if that's crazy, but it's actually very, very nice because with the Clash Gem as well, it also has like a damage over time and all that stuff. But as you can see here, when I do the thing, oh, let me actually take off the ring, you can better see it. So basically now you can see it's just like a frontal attack. So if enemies kind of is behind you or like accidentally become behind you, then you are, have to move around and such. But as you saw, when I put on the ring, it makes an explosion around you. There is a 3-second cooldown on it, but it seems like it's going off all the time. I don't think that that's 3 seconds. I feel like that's more than that. So yeah, but it does do an explosion, and I can kind of show you guys as well. So the Clash Gem is very nice to have with this, but it's not necessary. But you can see I do also an extra explosion, and yeah, it's just awesome, amazing. This is super cool. I wish you could hold down the button. It would not, like, you could just hold down the button. As you can see, I'm holding down the button, but I have to release every single time. I wish you could just hold down the button and it would just keep reusing itself if I hold down the button. Like, for example, your spears. I know it's like a toggle thing, but still, I wish that it would. You can just hold down this button, because clicking it all the time would just, it's not that bad, but it's just like, I don't want to be clicking all the time. I just kind of want to hold it down because I want to keep it destroying enemies. And then if I choose to not use it because I have to move, then for sure, then I would just release it. But I would love to like have 2 explosions at a time, right? So yeah, that's what it does. It does an explosion. Again, it's just used every 3 seconds. Nearby enemy killed, reset the cooldown of this bash. But yeah, I don't know, but the Bulwark bash kind of seems like it's kind of working all the time, like having no cooldown and stuff like that. But anyways, that's how it works, and that's what the Revenant got. And the explosion is probably I think the explosion is super awesome. Just again, I would love to see it just being something you could hold down as a, not as a toggle, but just like, keep down holding the button instead of having to, clicking it all the time. But anyways, that was the Revenant. We can now move on to the next one. All right, the next one is the Boomer. So we got the Boomer, and the Boomer, as you know, when you throw down your little bombs here, let me throw down some bombs, you get these chickens. You can see a bunch of chickens. Chickens are awesome. Chickens do damage. It's really awesome, and you can have like up to 5 of them. And then you kind of have to wait until it kind of comes back. And then you can also use your ultimate, which can have some chickens. But why am I mentioning chickens? Well, it's because of the ring. When nearby enemies sometimes create a chicken or chickens, it actually says chickens, so I'm not sure if it actually spawns multiple chickens, but it is plural, so maybe it is. But basically, you are going to have nearby enemies sometimes create chickens to fight for you. So basically, you don't technically have to use your #1 ability. You can basically just attack enemies, and then they're gonna, enemies are going to die, and then it's gonna randomly spawn trinkets that, you can also, this guy is, of course, this is a target dummy, so this is not going to die, but that's why kind of cool that you just run around and do damage, and then, of course, yeah, it's gonna spawn you some chickens when you then fight, and you have a chance of doing that. I don't know what the, the chance is, but usually people don't use their, like, tiny chicken bombs anyways. I don't really feel like they'd use any of them use it, but this is just a nice addition, just kind of a passive kind of thing where it just gives you more chickens, and chickens does damage, so why not have this one equipped? So nothing really crazy, but I think it's a really nice addition. Makes it, I think it's better than like some of the other out there of the hidden effects, not only the new ones but also the older ones and stuff like that, not specifically on the Boomer but just general. But so I kind of like this one quite a lot. I would rate this like higher than some of the other ones as well. For example, the Vanguardian, I'm not big a fan of what just getting stability and health regen, but anyways, that's all we're talking about. But that is the Boomers, basically just giving you more chickens, chickens upon chickens, right? So that is super awesome. Anyways, let's move on to the next class. All right, for the next class, we got the Dracolyte. So the Dracolyte did also get a very nice one. If at least I feel it's pretty awesome. But it has split fire. So what it does is that usually you have this little, I'm just gonna take it off right now. So you have this little dino or dragon kind of thing when you can see I'm just attacking, and at some point it's going to like kind of be bigger, and then when I use it, it's going to use, you know, when I use that right click, you can see I'm using it down on my hotbar. You can also kind of see it on the side there that it's you know, kind of doing its thing. Basically now it's not doing any damage, but what it does is that when I attack, then it kind of slowly you know, builds up, not very slow, but kind of okay fast, but then it uses that, and then just basically uses an extra attack that does damage. So basically sometimes you can basically see it when I do the right click. You can see there's like a big explosion of confetti. That's the one that does that. But the ring does this where, you know, that I can still, you know, kind of, you know, charge it up, and then it will also become, it actually kind of becomes a little bit fatter. But what it does now, as you can see right now, it is not working. And yeah, again, it's not working every single time. So I'm not sure if you have to have it all the time or whenever it's working. Usually I don't use this one because it's just like single target. But yeah, I would love to have it going off every single time. So it basically changes. And now it's also doing what it's supposed to do. And yeah, every time, of course. It's just, I don't know. Anyways, more consistency in that, and then more of an indication. I do love that we have this on our shoulder, but I would just like to have like some sort of indication, maybe down here in the hotbar or above our heads. Above his head would be the best indication of it. But yeah, that was the Dracolyte. Yeah, I would love to have to be a little bit shorter, but yeah, I had to show you guys what it looks like. And yeah, anyways, that's enough with the Dracolyte. Let's move on to the next class. Alright, for the next class, we got another one that is going to change abilities, and that is for the Gunslinger. And I'm going to take off the ring right now because you are basically going to see what it usually does. And you can see I just, you know, get up in the air, and then because I did some damage, sort of damage, then I stayed in the air. And that's usually, people don't use that. People usually just jump up. Maybe they do use this one a little bit, but usually people don't use the boost of energy thing or getting up there. So what they did was that they put in this mythic ring. So as you can see right here, blast jump, which was the one we were using before, is now replaced with proximity mines, which explode after 3 seconds or when nearby enemies. So basically what it does, as you can see right here, it's sort of like the Boomer's chickens. So basically what it does is also have 5 packs, but what it does is that it's just basically after 3 seconds, it's going to explode, as you can see right there, and it's also going to damage enemies. So you can see it's basically just, instead of having, you know, those like just jumping in the air, you can now have some more AoE, which is pretty awesome indeed. And then you can have 5 of them stacked up if you choose to do so. So other than that, it's basically the same. I would love to see that you could use these these bombs as also an explosion. I know it would probably be annoying if you're like really close to the enemies and you get shot away, but you could use them. You're supposed to be sort of ranged, right? So you can throw them, and then you could also use them as your like wait 3 seconds, and then you can still be shot up in the air. That could be a thing, but I don't know if that's too annoying for somebody. But it kind of loses the purpose of kind of going up in the air and then kind of slowly floating down, right? I think you can still like throw this one down, and then I don't know. Oh, you don't actually get the slow fall for using the mines when you hit enemies. Okay, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I thought you were gonna have that, but you can throw mines and then you can shoot, and then I guess you do the same thing. But anyways, that is the Gunslinger one. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so the next one is the Nia Ninja, and there's not really much to say about this one. This one is sort of, but again, you can use Rushed Escape on this one if you want to, but it's Conduit, and basically what it does is that you and your nearby allies receive a burst of energy during the duration of Final Technique, and Final Technique is your ultimate. So when you have your ultimate on, you're also going to give you and your enemies, I was about to say, of course, your allies, that one as well. So let me see if I can't like burst some energy down just by like going crazy. So I don't have that one, and then we can use the hopefully we could use that. Yeah, you can see there it goes, and there then you are going to get like more energy when you do that. So of course it's not terrible, because you can then use like more energy and it's not terrible, but the point is that I don't really see the big point in this one. I think it's okay, but yeah, I don't know. It's nothing crazy, but yeah. So it's Ninja is definitely not a winner in this scenario of this one, at least in my opinion. But that's what it does. It gives you energy when you use your ultimate. That's basically what it is. So yeah, would have loved to see something other than this, but what it would be, I have basically no idea. But yeah, it's you know, it's Ninja. It's supposed to go fast, so maybe the energy is not a bad decision. So anyways, that was the Ninja. Let's move on to the next class. All right, the next class is the Candy Barbarian, and the Candy Barbarian kind of works together on this one. It's called Cherry Bomb, and basically what it does is that when you use Vanilla Swirl, which is, you know, your mouse 2 button, the one where you swing around like this, and when you use that, shortly after you use Sugar Crash, causes your Cherry Bomb cluster to drop on up to 5 enemies in an area. So basically what it does, your Sugar Crush is the one you leap into, and of course it does a little bit better. You can also hold it down like that, and then use your swirl, and then basically you would drop these. But as you can see, you do have to hit enemies. So I'm gonna use my number 1 ability to actually hit this one. So there we go. We're gonna hit it, and then we're gonna swirl, and there should be a Cherry Bomb. There we go. The Cherry Bomb also dropped on the head. You can see it becomes, that's the red thing that is like basically jumping or falling on the heads. And then if you had more enemies, it would hit, of course, more enemies, which makes up to 5 enemies. So basically, it wants you to use this combo where you kind of does that one to kind of just hit enemies and do the swirl thing, and then hit enemies like that, and then you get just some extra damage. So basically it's just more AoE for the Candy Barbarian. So it's a really awesome ring. I think it's really, really cool. I would love to see it maybe not use your Sugar Crash, but I would just kind of love to see it. You could use it on your swirl basically. So your swirl would just be hitting those as well, instead of having to use your Sugar Rush first or Sugar Crash first and then use it like that. I would just love to see it being just used on your like swirl only, and then you can just like keep swirling and then hitting enemies, because that would just give you a lot more AoE, because you know it does have AoE, but you know it's not that big of a deal or big as it usually people do is that they use like hold down the button, right? So it keeps like pulling in enemies. So that's basically what usually people use it for, and just pull in enemies. And then you, of course, you can do that, but then swirl, and then you could hit them. I guess that could be the combo. But I don't know. Maybe it's really awesome. I don't know, but I would just love to see it just on the swirl, and then there would be cherry bombs. That is what the Candy Barbarian is hidden effect is. So we can move on to the next class. All right, so the next class is the Fae. This one is also just very straightforward. All you do is blink. So you blink, teleport you further, but no longer creates a decoy. So with the you know, the blink, if I have it right there, you blink, you teleport you forward, as you can see right here. And then when you change it, basically you can see it changes. You can see the teleports and leave. Oh, now it says leave behind. That's because it hasn't updated. Yeah, see, now teleports the Fae Trickster or the Trickster forward. That's all it says, right? But if I take off the ring here, if I can figure out how to do that, and I update the screen, you can see the teleports are leaving behind a decoy that enemies will attack. So basically, you can see that's a decoy when you do use your blink. So you can just blink around and have a bunch of decoys that the enemies can hit if you choose to do so. But if you do want to have this one right here, you can see then I jump way further. If I show you guys right here, you can see I'm standing right here at the target dummy, and then I go all the way over here to using this one. Also, the Fae Trickster did get a longer dash, but if I take this one off, you can see if I go back to the target dummy right here, you can see it's, I wouldn't say about halfway. I would say maybe a little bit longer of that. But yeah, you basically have to use 2 blinks to get at the same place as you were before. So if you like, don't really care for the, you know, for the decoy, it doesn't really do anything, then you can just have that longer blink if you want to. And of course, that's pretty nice to have so as well. So basically just makes your blink way longer to do that, but then don't make that decoy. I don't know if that's a big devastating thing towards Fae Tricksters if they want to use that. But again, you could use Rushed Escape instead, or use Blink, and you can choose between them. So you can always have this ring and then just use the Rushed Escape and then Blink if you choose to want to at some point use it. I don't know, but of course it only can happen once a week. So anyways, that was the Fae Trickster. Let's move on to the next one. All right, next one is the Shadow Hunter, and you probably know this, but I'm just gonna show you because usually people do know this, but I just want to show you guys. So the Seeker, this is the Shadow Seekers, and basically what it does is that when you attack something that has that mark on it, and you can have get marks by using your Sun Ray or stuff, your Sun Snare and stuff like that. And then as you can see right over your head and also on the hotbar, you can basically see you're getting more and more. And if I use this, if I right click, you can see there's some arrows. They were very, very small, but they hit this target right here. Now you can see it's gray. So if I keep using this, also randomly, you will mark enemies periodically. And then you can basically use this one, and over time, you are going to get 5 arrows, and that's the max. And when you then hit the, you can probably, hopefully you can see it on camera, there's going to be arrows that are going to hit the enemy right there. Hopefully that was clear enough on the screen. So basically that's what you do. Usually people don't really use this. People just auto attack. Usually just, maybe they use it sometimes, but usually people don't. I kind of think it's kind of cool because it like seeks out the nearest enemy, and it's kind of like you can just run and then use that one, right? So I kind of like that ability. But what the ring does is that it now makes it something different, called, instead of calling it, now it's called Dread Arrow, basically. Unleashes an arrow dipping with poison, applying also Shadow Mark and Snare and damage over time effects. So basically what it does, as you can see, it replaces that and that one, but your Shadow Seekers now fire automatically instead of saving up. So when I shoot this, it should start throwing those arrows out. You can see it was there. It's kind of hard to see, but basically now you just auto attack, and it's you can't really use the ability. Well, you can use the ability, but the point is that when it has that mark, it's just going to attack that. So basically, the Shadow Hunter just became like way, way better. You can see, maybe you can see a little bit that the arrows follow kind of the ground there and hits it. So basically, you're just auto using ability now. You basically are just doing even more damage as a Shadow Hunter, even crazier damage you're going to do with the Shadow Hunter. The Shadow Hunter is going to be absolutely crazy now with this one right here, because you're applying damage over time, you're just auto attacking, all that stuff, which is kind of cool, but it just makes, the #1 ability and the ultimate just even less usable, I guess, for this one, because like the most useful skill was the Shadow Seekers. I feel like the ultimate is not bad, but it's just like, nah, right? I feel like they should change it in some ways where, it just becomes like, it is nice with the arrows per se, but I just kind of feel like it should be where it does something that, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like sort of a Vanguardian thing where it comes. I don't know what it should be, but maybe it could be like a demon you summon. I know that's kind of like the Tomb Raiser, but just like kind of a shadow clone of yourself. I know that's sort of like like the Lunar Lancer, but maybe that it mimicked your abilities. Maybe that could be a thing where it's just kind of you go into the shadows or something like that. Or whatever, instead of just like, the bombs are cool, but like people don't really use them. I don't think they use them, but maybe they do. I don't know. But right now, the auto attacking Shadow Hunter just became even like stronger. Like I wouldn't say double as strong, but just way stronger, because now you don't even have to use your second ability. Now you can just again apply all the things you want to with this one right here. So absolutely insane, absolutely amazing, fantastic, and it's just gonna be super, super awesome to play Shadow Hunter again. And I said that my Chloromancer might be the new main, but it might be Shadow Hunter after this one here, but we'll see in the future. But anyways, this was the Shadow Hunter, and now we can move on to the next one. On the next one is the Ice Age, and the Ice Age, as you can see right here, I'm gonna throw down my Ice Crash, what it's called, Ice Crash, and basically what it does is that you right in front of you, well, I can also throw it a little bit further, but it's kind of you have to kind of shoot up in the air, but it's usually people just kind of do like this, where they just kind of, you know, hit enemies like this around them. But what the ring does is that it takes the Frozen Tempest, the Ice Clash, as I said, and make it into Frozen Tempest. So basically what it's going to do is that it's going to increase the movement speed of the Ice Age and damage and slow nearby enemies while active. So basically what it's going to do is just apply this one. As you can see, this kind of has a little bit of a frost theme around it. So basically you want to use this, and then you kind of, you know, attack, and then you can use it sometimes. Basically you want to just auto attack on enemies, right? And then sometimes hit your right button. I do think that it should be a little bit more visual, which ones are like kind of frozen or slowed. And then also I would love to see a different icon when you then, you know, change from this one, because it does a little blink thing, but you know, it doesn't really show that it's going to be something different, that it's a Frozen Tempest now. So if you forget, you're kind of like, okay, where's my ice clashes, right? But you can also use it as a movement speed thing, but that's really up to you. But I think it's pretty cool, but I would love to see something different. I would love to see sort of an AoE maybe instead of that. Well, I don't know. Yeah, because this one just freezes things around you, as you can see right here, and they also damage them, right? Because, yeah, that's kind of cool. So it kind of does the same thing, I guess. So basically you just want to use 1, 2, or right, you just like immobile kind of thing, right? So that's kind of cool. But yeah, not a bad one, but it could be better in my opinion. But that's what it does. It just replaces and does some damage there, as you can see there. So anyways, let's move on to the next class. All right, so the next class is the Pirate Captain, and used before, I'm just going to mention this. This has nothing to do with the ring, but I just want to mention it because it kind of ties into it. That the class gem was changed into, now you can throw your first mate and also your man of war. That's of course your ultimate. That does an explosion. So when I throw this one, it's going to be an explosion, but that is not the class gem. Just letting you guys know. So the class gem is now when you throw down, it's going to throw an explosion. I'm just going to throw it over here so it doesn't shoot at that guy all the time. But that's what it does, is that when you throw it down, there's going to be an initial explosion. So it doesn't have to, you can basically use it as sort of a bomb thing. So you do damage, and then it damage enemies, and then it's going to start shooting. Because before, basically what it does is if I take this one off, before it was, you can have two different, or you can have two of the cannons, but really never you use two cannons, I guess. But now, as you can see, I throw it, it's still going to do the whole thing as it usually does that. But if I if I have this one on, as I told you before, then it's going to explode. So basically it's just going to have some initial damage, and the same thing goes with that. We can see there was an explosion before it went off, and then it's going to start shooting. But the class gem is that the diffused, the potent pirate is now replaced with diffused dummy, which costs 45 energy to throw and no longer explode. So basically now it's diffused dummy, throw down decoy that will enemies will attack. So instead of let me see if I can. So this one is what it does, and then it should like they want to attack this one, and yeah, now it's just going to cost you less energy to do so as well. So let me just get some energy or some doubloons. Let me just go a little bit crazy here, and then basically what does is just gonna do exactly the sort of the same thing. So I'm not really sure what the point was with this one. It doesn't explode anymore. I don't know what that was, but I have no idea, to be honest. That's what it does. I think the change to the class gem is absolutely amazing, but I feel like it might be the worst of them all. I don't know, but the pretend pirate is replaced with the. I don't see the point. Like now you can see booby trap decoy that will enemies will attack, and then it basically it's throw down a decoy that enemies will attack, and then it doesn't explode anymore. So I'm very, very confused on like why what the purpose was on the dummy diffuse. But again, you can use rushed attack, I guess, and then have you in the dodge, and then you can basically move a little bit faster, I guess, and then just keep using your explosion thingy. So and that's gonna be your damage, right? So yeah. And again, of course, these little first mates here doesn't cost any energy, so yeah, that's kind of cool in that sense. So I don't think the glass ring is something you're gonna use, but the rush escape might be very nice. So yeah, I guess it's one of those rings. But anyways, that was the Pirate Captain. Let's move on to the next class. All right, for the next class, we got the Knight, and I'm just going to take off the ring right here. As you can see right here, the Iron Will is our ultimate, and that is what it was before. You know, that's the one where you fully heal the Knight and then reduces the incoming damage 50%, and then also 7 nearby enemies or Trovians already take less damage and also reflect 10 damage to the Knight for 10 seconds. So basically, you just become very, very immortal thing kind of deal, right? So that's basically the defensive thing. And what they did, and I think this is super awesome, this is one of the things that I suggested, is that you can basically go in and become a offensive one instead, and this replaces, as you can see, the ultimate, which is super, super awesome. I wish there were going to be more VFX when you go into it. You do become bigger, but I would love to see like sort of more VFX when you become berserking or whatever you call it, right? And I also wish that as long as you were attacking, that would also extend the duration of it. That would be super cool as well, so it wasn't like a base duration of it. But what it does is that it changes, replaces I will with momentum shift, I think it's called. When active, increase the Knight's damage, stability, attack speed, energy regen. While inactive, so just having this equipped, you are actually going to have more health regen and more movement speed. So as you can see here, this is the way I'm moving with this one. And then when I take it off, it's not a big significant change, but it does move you a little bit faster. And then when you use it, as you can see here, you are becoming larger, and then you are doing more damage. You are, more attack speed. Everything is going, you're basically just going berserk, going crazy, and just have more VFX. I would just love to have more VFX. And then you can see now it's off, as you can see here. So that's what it does. Instead of just being defensive, now it can be offensive. So usually people didn't really use the ultimate ability because like you just auto attack basically, and then people use the maybe sometimes this one, but usually people didn't use the class gem because they use it as a movement spell, and they never really used this #1 ability. And I would love to see maybe that going into your ultimate would be changing your #2 ability, so it wouldn't be like a slam thing, but like an AoE slam instead. And I don't know if they should change the this one right here because it's part of the class gem and stuff like that, but I do think that it should do something else. When you went into this one, you would have like this one, and then an AoE slam, and then like this one, right? And then there would be like you could just slam all the time, for example. The AoE slam, for example, when you're in that berserker form. That could also be kind of cool. Or this one would pull them in. That could also be kind of cool. Or yeah, I don't know. But I think it'd just be something cool into the ultimate as well. But I really like this one. The Knight one is super, super cool. I really like that you can switch from being, either you choose to be, a defensive Knight or an offensive Knight, right? So anyways, that was the Knight. Let's move on to the last class. Yeah, so the last class we have is the Tomb Raiser. So the Tomb Raiser's one is that your basic attacks deal extra damage, so you just basically get a damage boost, but now also hits enemies and now hits enemies. I'm not sure what that means. And heals the skill bots in a circle around it. So the skill bots, those are these ones right here. Restless Souls, you can see attract skill to fight for you. So basically when I hit this one, these are the enemies that you can see now. I'm healing them as well and doing more damage. I should be doing more damage at least. And then of course you can get more and more of these, and then it would just keep healing them. So basically you just keep them alive as long as the fight is going on, which is really, really nice. So you don't have to sometimes you might run out of these, but you basically have them all the time. And you might be wondering, okay, then it just has its summon all the time when you're attacking. Yeah, but they will become these a little bit more empowered ones, and you can barely see it, but these are actually losing health a little bit. So the empowered ones are not going to stay around forever, but the unempowered ones are going to become it is going to be staying alive all the time, right? So yeah, they will be empowered, but they will die eventually. But basically you can keep getting them up to being empowered. And yeah, also of course when these die, they're going to have a bunch of them. And then of course you can hit it with your ultimate, and that one is also going to die. You can't keep that one alive either. but you can keep the other ones alive and just keep going as well. And then if you hit your number 1 ability if you want to. And yeah, so that's how it works. Basically, you can keep those alive all the time, but they will, of course, die out, you know, at some point as well. But not if you just only have the unempowered one. So that's what it does. Gives you extra damage and then heals those so they can stay around for a little bit longer. So really, really awesome. Something that probably most of the Tomb Racers want to have. At least that's something I would really love to have when I was leveling up the Tomb Racer, when I was doing that, you know, earlier this year. So anyways, that was the last one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys found it interesting, you know, covering every single one of these. And if you have any additions to it, you can put it in the comments, or you can go to the description. There is the link to our Discord, the Discord that I have, our community one. And in that one, there's also like a channel where you can find the Trove one, the official one, or you can just search on Google. But they would love to have your feedback. There is a PTS feedback channel. And if you have any suggestions to all of these things here, make sure you put them there. In the comments, they don't always see them on my videos, so it's much better to put them on there. But, you know, sometimes they do see them, so you can post them there and there, basically. So you have 2 options as well. But make sure you post them, of course, on the official Trove Discord, because that is where they see it absolutely the most. So, yeah, it's also great to put in the comments anyways. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.